Welcome to the green attack path. We're going to create a malicious service on this compromised web server in systemd. So just a quick review from the previous technique. We used a web shell to load a tool to identify privilege escalation. We found a setuid file called dash and was able to escalate to root privileges. And with the privileges we had, we created a user account that we are going to use for SSH and also for future SSH pivoting. We also talked about how to set up an authorized key file and use that to authenticate from Kali to the account that we created called Gary. All right, now we're going to create a PHP program to listen on UDP. We're going to place this file in var www.html. We're going to disguise it as if it is a service monitoring script for the site PWeGo. And we're going to call the file monitor.php. And then we're going to, in the last technique, execute it as a systemd service and be able to communicate with it. So the sample PHP code is located here. So if you click on here, takes you to my blog spot, and here's some code that you can use. Let's go back to this. So I need you to download the code and place it locally. This technique is meant to be configured and worked on locally. So go ahead and download it to your Kali box, name it PWeGo monitor.php or whatever you'd like to. So I'm going to go ahead and progress with doing this. So I grab the file, copy, I'm going to go to Kali, monitor.php. Then I'm going to hit Control-Shift-Insert and drop the code in. To really understand what this code does, it creates a socket, and it's a datagram and a UDP socket, and it's going to listen on port 10,000. Port 10,000 is arbitrary. You could choose any port like 8338 or whatever you'd like. And then this binding IP, you can select the IP by specifying it, or you can leave 0.0.0.0 as a HAL attached to all interfaces, or you can place localhost as 127.0.0.1. And then reading down the code, this for loop creates an endless loop between this bracket and the last bracket, the curly brace. And if I send a UDP message and that message contains IP in the message, it's going to take off IP and the space that may come after IP and then use that as the IP address that we want to plug into the code. Another way to do that is with port. I put in port and then I specify the port. And then down here I can type status and hit enter, and it'll return to me through port 10,000 the IP and the port that I have set. The goal of setting the port and the IP is to then feed it into a PHP reverse shell that can be established. And I can type the word execute on this port 10,000 UDP, and it's going to take the variables that I've set for IP and port and feed them into the PHP reverse shell. Again, disguising this as, hey, we're monitoring PWeGo, but really we're not. So I'm going to save that. And on Kali, I want to test it. So I do PHP, PWeGo monitor. This does anticipate that you have PHP installed on Kali. By default, it is not installed. Sudo PHP, here we go, monitor. Wrong password. All it is, oh, I know why. All right, let's go into this PWeGo monitor file. When I pulled it off of my website, I did not add in the PHP code. So I need to add a code question mark PHP at the top, and then at the bottom, question mark to end the PHP. And now when I execute it, I don't need privileges. Now it'll run the PHP code. And then I can look at it and verify that it's running by doing SSLUP, which is looking at UDP connections, and I am now listening on port 10,000. So I'm going to go ahead and conclude this portion of the video. The next video, I will actually be interacting with this a little bit and just testing it on my local Kali box.